There are literally dozens and dozens of unlocks, gear items, and mechanics that can make a huge difference in Crimson Desert, but a really simple one that I definitely slept on for too long was using the focus ability way more often in combat. And not just its base level, but getting it upgraded to level 2 and then level 3 to make it much more effective. You get the base level of focus early on, and triggering it with L3 plus R3 on controller or X on keyboard slows down time and recharges your spirit gauge much faster than normal. So even at the base level, you definitely want to use it a lot because it gives you a much safer window to heal by consuming food, and you can observe the enemies or a boss in slow motion to learn their attack patterns. And the spirit gain is really important too, because spirit fuels some of your most useful magic-based combat abilities, specifically Force Palm and its upgraded proficiency and expertise levels, which apply a lot of stun buildup on bosses. And Turning Slash, which you're going to want to use a lot because not only does it deal a solid chunk of damage, but it can hit multiple enemies at once, and it has a lot of invincibility frames, so you can actually iframe through enemy attacks. The Turning Slash level 2 upgrade is also definitely worth getting early because it basically makes it quicker to pull off Turning Slashes by chaining it after other attacks. But just like Force Palm, Turning Slash costs Spirit to use, so that's where recharging Spirit with Focus comes in, even at its base level. But Focus gets really strong once you upgrade it to level 2 and 3. At level 2, you get Focused Repulsion, which lets you tap R1 on controller or left click on keyboard to blast back all the enemies around you. Super useful to take back control when you're getting swarmed by a big group, which does happen a lot. The only thing is, when you use the R1 or left click to trigger the blast, you have to do that before you get hit. So if the enemies are already all over you, it's hard to pull off, but that's why there's actually an alternative input. If you're currently being hit, then you can just hit L3 plus R3 or X on keyboard just like you're trying to trigger focus, and the enemies will get automatically blasted back. But at level 3, it gets even better with Focused Insight, because Cliff will now auto-track incoming attacks while you're in focused, and it also lets you counter them with L1 or control on keyboard. I don't want to spoil any cool bosses for you, but focus levels 2 and 3 are really helpful with some of them, so you definitely want to invest some Abyss artifacts into enhancing focus early, and build a habit of using focus a lot in combat. Another skill that's helpful early on is Stab, which inflicts bleed on the enemies so they take damage over time. That's particularly helpful for some early bosses. And then using Blinding Flash Finisher with Blinding Flash is also a really great combo. Blinding Flash lets you quickly blind and interrupt the enemy with a flash from your weapon by pressing L1 plus R1, or control and left click on keyboard. And then Blinding Flash Finisher will take advantage of them being blinded to quickly follow up with easy damage. You also definitely want to get Keen Senses to level 3 pretty quick because it unlocks dodge and counter. It's a little confusing because you can of course already dodge before unlocking this, but getting the dodge upgrade for Keen Senses sort of gives you a perfect dodge. It basically makes it easier to dodge at the last moment and avoid damage. And counter also helps you avoid damage by interrupting an enemy attack with your own if you happen to do it right before getting hit. But one of the most useful hidden combos I found, especially for early combat, combines the Shield Bash skill with a couple of other basic mechanics. Basically, you hold L1 to block, and then, while you still continue to hold L1, also hold R2 so Cliff does a shield bash, and then he'll continue to charge with his shield, and then finally he'll do a basic 3-hit heavy combo. You don't want to let up on either button the whole time, just keep holding L1 and R2. On keyboard, that's control and right click. Like I mentioned, you get swarmed by big groups of enemies a lot in this game, so you really want to hold block a lot, but you also need to be aggressive. Trying to hang back and wait for openings on enemies doesn't really work so well, so this combo is a great way to deal with bleed bandits and other regular enemies pretty safely. Of course, you can still get attacked from the sides or behind, which again is where those focus blasts come in. But this combo also showcases a really important mechanic you need to get used to, which is the fact that you can just hold down the light or heavy attack buttons and Cliff will automatically do the entire basic light or heavy combo. And that's actually how you want to do it most of the time, because he'll do the combos a little faster and more fluidly, and the damage increases quite a bit as you get later into the combo. Most basic enemies are dead in just 2 or 3 hits if you're getting 2 or 3 hits into the basic light and heavy combos. And getting kills often is actually another really important part of the combat system. When you get a kill, surrounding enemies get dazed for a moment and often knocked over. A giant swarm might feel overwhelming at first, and they will be if you sort of hang back and try to go one-on-one with whoever attacks first. But you don't really want to do that. It's more effective to be proactive. If you can get a kill to interrupt other nearby enemies and then immediately chase down the next guy for another kill, you'll see the table tables turn really fast and you can start chaining kills that keep interrupting the other enemies. The key is you've got to keep the pressure on, and when enemies start to overwhelm you again, which they will do, use focus to blast them back. If you can get used to that basic loop, you'll have a much easier time with early fights. But unlocking all those skills we mentioned require a lot of Abyss artifacts, and there's no doubt you also need to know how to heal effectively in combat. So you need to know the best things to cook, how to get lots of Abyss cores so you can unlock skills quickly, and more key combat tips. Okay, let me show you the best way to get food for healing early on that doesn't cost a fortune. In Hernan, go to the tavern and buy water from the merchant there. Then head out of the tavern and down the road nearby just a little ways to the grocer. From him, you want to buy water again, but you also want to buy barley and oats. Then from the grocer, go a little further down the road to the butcher and buy all her meats, including the bird meat. Now turn around and run straight back up the road, go across the main road and under a small archway leading up to a cooking pot. You want to make two things here. First, clear soup, the base kind, not the filling or the satisfying or the hearty kinds. Those do heal you more, but they cost a lot more resources to make. So the best bang for your buck, at least early on, is just regular clear soup. I also suggest you switch up the ingredients to use the bird meats when cooking soup first. You'll see why in a second. Once you've made all the clear soup you can, now we're going to use up all the rest of the meat to make single ingredient grilled meat. Again, just the basic grilled meat is the best bang for your buck. All the different regular meats will turn into grilled meat, but the bird meats turn into grilled bird meat, and those don't stack with the regular ones. So that's why it's better to use the bird meat for the soup. It saves inventory space. These soups and steaks are your healing in the early game, and I kid you not, you're gonna want dozens of these stacked for some boss fights. I was running around with like 30 soups and 50 steaks all the time early on, so plan on coming back to run this cooking route on the regular. Oh, and if you can't make soup yet because you don't have the recipe, don't worry, you'll get it during an early main quest. Just keep going until you unlock the camp and use grilled meat until then. Also, as you explore and find recipes and other books and documents, once you read them, you don't need to keep them anymore. You can sell them or just discard them to free up space. Although don't drop things if you still need them for a quest, of course. You'll also find that water is often the limiting resource with cooking, so anytime you're near an inn or a grocer, just check in to see if they have water. Merchants' inventories respawn about once per in-game day. The other thing you definitely want to check for at basically every merchant are small bags. These are a one-time purchase that unlock a new inventory slot for you, and lots of merchants have them. Inventory space is pretty limited, and there's no other storage space currently in the game, so you want to buy every bag you can get your grubby hands on. There will actually be a patch coming post-launch that adds a storage system at the house, but it sounds like it'll only store some items, so inventory space is still a premium. By the way, your house is on the cliff just across from your camp, which you unlock in an early story mission. You're also definitely going to want to group items to clean up your inventory. This doesn't actually give you more inventory slots back, but it does organize things. Just select an item and then click L3 or T on keyboard to stack similar types of items into a category. Oh, and don't worry about items with a purple background. Those don't actually take up any inventory space. But let's get back to those Abyss artifacts you need for skills. There are 4 ways you can get these: completing quests, solving puzzles, exploring, and through combat. Nothing really to explain with quests or puzzles, just don't get confused about Abyss crescents with the puzzles. Those are just the posts that pop up when completing a puzzle that you need to take the Abyss artifact out of. But you can find a lot of sealed Abyss artifacts for free by just exploring. They're often at little altars at road intersections, and you can find them along with puzzles by getting up somewhere high, using the blinding flash skill to flash your weapon, and looking for glints of light in the distance. And there's a lot of them out there, so get in the habit of using blinding flash a lot while exploring. But sealed artifacts need to be unsealed before you can actually use them as a skill point, and you do that by completing whatever challenge is associated with it. Many of the challenges are pretty simple, like sliding down a long hill, and it's definitely worth prioritizing as many of these as you can so you can start unlocking more skills early. Also, anytime you see a sealed artifact flashing in your inventory, that means you've completed the challenge and you need to do the use action to actually get the Abyss core from it. It won't automatically convert. But the other way to get artifacts is by filling up this gauge to the left of the minimap. You do that by simply killing enemies. So it's actually really helpful to go around and clear out lots of bleed bandits early on. Not only will you get some extra artifacts by filling up the gauge, but it's also a good opportunity for you to practice basic combat, pick up some new gear from their random drops, and get a bunch of loot you can cash in for money. We'll circle back to gear and money making in a minute though. Real quick on skills, you should know the lines connecting different skills don't really mean anything. You can unlock any node you want at any time unless its description specifically says it needs another skill unlocked first, so just ignore the lines. You also definitely want to invest in a few upgrades for the big health and stamina nodes early on to increase max health and stamina. I'd recommend 2 to 3 upgrades for health and 3 to 4 for stamina as soon as you can. Stamina is especially important because it fuels a lot of attacks and it allows you to take more hits while blocking before getting knocked down. Not to mention, having more stamina makes exploring with climbing and gliding way easier. You don't want to totally ignore the big spirit node though. Get that upgraded 2 or 3 times as soon as you can too, so you have a bigger spirit gauge to work with. And then I'd get this one a little later, but force current is a really nice quality of life upgrade. This is what lets you blast apart certain minerals that you can't mine with a pickaxe. It's also great for puzzles that require a block or something to be pushed, and you can easily knock down trees instead of chopping them with an axe. Although you could also do that with turning slash much earlier too. If you ever need to respec skills, you can do that, but it costs 1 faded abyss core, and those are kinda hard to come by, so you do still want to choose your skills carefully. While you're exploring, you're going to need to use the Visione a lot to view memories. The fastest way is like this. Anytime your lantern flashes blue, that means you're near a memory. So open up the gear wheel, select the lantern and set it to on, and then hold L1 to shine it around to find the memory. Move around until you start getting the learning in progress bar, and once that fills up, you can just click the menu button shown right here on the memory icon to automatically take the Visione out, put it on, view the memory, and then put it away. No need to manually equip it or fumble around in menus. If you've got weapons out and that's preventing you from holding up the lantern, just tap the button that opens the gear wheel to sheath weapons. When you want to get into your inventory or other menus, you also definitely want to hold down the menu button instead of clicking it. That lets you select and load straight into the menu you want. And on the map, make sure you're using the different layers to view all the information available. I generally keep mine on all, but if I'm looking for things like merchants, witches, or ore deposits, I switch to the environment view to see those more easily at a zoomed out level. Ore deposits will show up on the map after you've mined them once, and they respawn about every 7 in-game days. You're also going to find that you need to go back to the camp frequently, but you won't be able to unlock a fast travel point near the camp until later. So until then, the fastest way to get there is to open up the map, place a marker down on the camp, but then actually switch the map layer to the abyss by clicking this button right here. Then you can teleport up to the closest abyss nexus, jump off, and dive down from the abyss to your camp. You can just angle yourself towards the camp, Superman all the way down, and then just pop the wings right before you hit the ground. You'll see as you work your way through main quests that the abyss actually branches out across a lot of the sky above Pywell. So it's worth spending some time up there doing puzzles after about chapter 4 or so to unlock more fast travel points in the sky. But sometimes when you're in the abyss, you don't want to fall. So if you do by accident, use the Axiom Force to stop your fall as soon as possible, and then open up the menu, go to Others, and choose the Escape option. This will send you right back up to the abyss so you don't have to waste time falling all the way back down and getting back up. That Escape option also works if you happen to get stuck in terrain somewhere, by the way. As you explore, definitely check the map frequently for big question mark areas. These indicate either an Abyss Nexus fast travel point or a puzzle to solve. And keep in mind the Abyss Crescent posts that pop up after solving a puzzle do act as fast travel points as well. Fast travel points are really valuable because the map is so damn big and they're often spread out, so anytime you can get another one, it's worth it. Also, just a general progression tip, you really do kind of need to mainline the story until you clear at least chapter 5 before you'll have enough mechanics unlocked to do a lot of side content. Honestly, you kind of still need to focus on mainlining a few more quests after that before you're really ready to explore everywhere, but chapter 5 is roughly the point I'd recommend you focus on getting to ASAP. Of course, do some exploring along the way, especially for those extra Abyss artifacts so you can unlock more skills, but you're honestly going to burn a lot of time if you try to explore a lot before chapter 5. But let's talk money and gear. Early on, getting money is mostly about killing lots of bandits and selling their loot. You can do some bounties, which are the pink icons on the minimap indicating posters you can pick up, but they don't give that much money. You can also gamble in Duo, which is up on the top floor of the inn in Hernand. If you can win pretty consistently, that can be good money, but honestly, I found loot from bandits was really the main source of income early on. Keep in mind when you loot copper and silver pouches, you actually need to open up your inventory and then use the pouch to get the money out of it. Of course, use the little X's on the minimap map to find all the bodies and loot after clearing out a group, but you can loot even more efficiently by getting yourself a pet. Every in-game day, you can pet any dog or cat you come across up to 5 times for a total of 25 trust gain per day. And dogs are even easier to win over because you can also give them raw meat 3 times per day for even more trust gain. There's a dog and a cat that hang out in the town square in Hernan, so start petting them ASAP, and then once they're your pet, make sure you summon them with this button right here in the menu to help you loot. But there is one great trick for getting about 75 silver super early: rob the bank. Literally, all you need for this is to equip a mask so you can steal and a generic key to get into the room with the loot. Masks are a pretty common drop from bandits, and you should find a key through some general exploration and looting as well. What you want to do is walk straight in the front door of the bank in Hernan, and then use the key on the door to your left to get into the loot room. Then you just grab everything in sight, walk out, and go sell it to a merchant. You shouldn't alert the guards at all, but if you do for some reason, or if you accidentally raise the crime alarm at any other time, you want to run as fast as possible to get outside the red boundary and out of sight of guards. And if you need to clear a bounty on yourself, go to the church where you can pay to be absolved of your sins. Later on, particularly when you can freely explore Demonis around chapter 8 or 9, you'll often find banners on pikes. When you see those, grab them. They're usually worth quite a bit of silver. Now, for gear, the most important thing to understand is that gear items themselves don't actually make the biggest difference. In fact, gear itself is almost just cosmetic. It is worth buying a couple of the Kanta plate armor pieces from the Hernan Smith early on though. I'd just go for the chest piece and boots because you're going to get some better gloves from an early boss, you can get a better cloak for free, and plate helms won't let you equip masks, earrings, and glasses at the same time. It's also worth doing some refinements to get gear pieces to level 4. That's pretty cheap to do with just iron and copper. Going to level 5 requires abyss artifacts though, so I wouldn't do that because you want artifacts for skill unlocks. For other types of gear, you'll need cloth, fleece, and timber for refinement upgrades. And at the smith, you'll also find a grindstone and an anvil, which you can use to temporarily boost the effectiveness of your weapons and armor. But abyss cores are what really make you stronger. These are mods that you can slot in on various gear items to increase different stats and add special boosts and abilities. You'll find some on gear that you get from bosses, but you can also craft them and upgrade them once you reach the first witch through a main quest. The witch will also let you swap cores around, craft new slots on all your different gear pieces so you can equip more cores, and she'll let you synthesize higher tier cores, which you absolutely want to start doing when you can because they get way stronger. But you only want to go up to tier 3. At tier 4, cores get really strong, but they also get a durability mechanic, meaning they're basically temporary, so tier 3 is really where it's at. One of the best cores you can get early comes on the leather helm of the Fallen Kingdom, aka the Stag Lord helm, and it boosts turning slash damage by 35%. I show you where to get that along with a bunch of other gear and items to get overpowered early in this video right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there in just a second.